Now I am honored to welcome here on the stage Mr. Per Lavers, our precious distinguished guest who will be present in the Czech Republic with his contribution. Presentation titled How to Promote Mental Health and Talent in Each Child. Well-being and involvement show the way. It will be simultaneously interpreted, and I'm looking forward to this presentation. Over to you.
Very good morning. Very good morning to everyone, each of you. It's great to be in Prague, wonderful to be here. And when I look back in my life, I see that I'm by serendipity. It's a word you can't translate, but I can define it. It's finding wonderful things on your road and things that you didn't look for. You were not really seeking that. You receive it. And that's what I received when a few months ago I got a phone call or a mail to start from Christina, and very good how close we are to one another in terms of background, the mission that we share. And that indeed is a very good start to work together and develop something that will be bigger than we can see today, I'm sure. Moments like these are really super important, because you leave now, if you are a teacher or even if you are not a teacher professionally, you leave the hectic life behind you for one day. You sit down and you get a time to refresh, to feel what's happening here, what is important for you, to go back to the essence of your work and your mission and your task that you have. And I'm very pleased to help you to make that reflection, using 50 years of experience and always finding new things, thanks to the possibility to speak to you. And later on today to listen to you as well. Well, if the highest possible outcome is the goal, well-being and involvement show the way, is one way to pick up the title that we had. And in fact, I would like to start by something that is not nice at all. But I feel that you cannot talk about education without talking about the world we are living in. We've never had such a clash of many things that are highly worrying. I won't go through each of them. It's the mental health, terrorism and war. We didn't know when I wrote it that it would come another war again in Israel. The migration flow, climate change, the poverty gap, the failing policy, the quality of services, and go on. It's black. But I must say, a year ago when I wrote that, I felt unsecure about the future, indeed. But I begin to see something that is a point of light at the end of the tunnel. We, the world, community, is experiencing that we cannot take that we don't accept it. We don't accept that so much billions go to rich. They get richer and richer. It has been enough. And that's a nice way to start. But there's something even more important for us. We hold one of the most important levers in society to make changes. Because people are made in the schooling system, of course also in the family, but the society has a huge structure to do something about it. And that's why when I ask the question, what is the way out? It's education. All these people that we have seen done things that are criminal have been in a school system, but have not been influenced and developed in the way that we need them. And we can give many examples of that. For example, the Brexit is such a stupid thing. How can it happen? Because but lack of understanding of something very important. Okay, I need to stop here because I could go very far to share that with you. That's because I'm angry, but do something about that. We do something with this anger. So what is then education with the highest quality? And so we need to seek the key indicators of quality. And that's the question I have asked myself for decades now. And in general, people would very quickly focus on the approach, on the learning environment, and tell you that you need a teacher that is empathic with the children, has sensitivity, that you need materials, that you need good kind of working structures like forms, and we can go on. But for the moment, I want to leave that there and go to another one that is a very important indicator of quality, and we find it in the effect, in the what for. And normally, it's the governments that are interested in the what for. They want really to look at that. And they are right, because that is what counts. The rest is just a means to get there. But the experiential approach since 1976 has brought in another category apart from approach and effect. And I take you to that point where, thanks to our experiential approach, we discovered that we had other very important kind of indicators that were missing up to then. And what is the experiential approach? It's very simple. I go back to 1976. We had 12 teachers in kindergarten who with us were interested to try to find out how it was in their settings. And we had one starting question, one key. And the key was, we ask ourselves, what do these children experience from the first moment they are in the school up to the end when they go and leave with their parents? What kind of experience is it to be there? To interact, to find materials, to have an interaction with the teacher as well, all these things together. So we took the perspective of the child, like Rogers described in the experiential approach. We took the perspective of the child and we wanted to sense and feel what it is to be there. And we shared that with one another and saw, oh, these things should be different because I sense from the other side that we miss some things. It could be much better. And what was much better? We were thinking about that a lot. But before I go to the answers I gave, I take you in a small kind of exercise if you want. I will show you a clip, not more than 1 minute probably, in which I ask you to find out the profile. How can you describe the child that we will see? And it's Jaap. He's 4 years and a bit, almost 5, where an adult is putting materials and it's part of a longitudinal study. Okay. Your task will be to find out which elements can describe Jaap during this minute. And afterwards, I will collect several of them. I can tell you already, we will find at least 10 different elements to portray him. Just a few minutes that I got, but I think we learned a lot about Jaap. So I will go over them because of the time, and certainly you will recognize many of these aspects. The first one is the coolest. He's absolutely interested and motivated, so there is an exploratory drive there. Second one is the concentration. From the beginning, his eyes were just glued on what he was doing. He didn't realize there was a camera around. tumbles down, learns us that he has an affinity for language. Because he wouldn't say that, but he sees it happen. And he hears the word used by the adult for the first time maybe. Stort in mekaar. And he needs to repeat that. And we are talking about language development. The key point, language should be something that articulates a very strong experience that you have. And he had it. Then it goes that way. He has spatial relation insight. He knows it will go that way very quickly. Do you know? I got a problem. I don't know, but I'm socially competent. I know there are people around, so I can help me. So that's why I asked, do you know? He is now on top of the thing that happened. He's the master. He is saying what the question is and how to do. So he had to do something about the yellow one, but no, he says, no, I can do it in the green one. So I take over. And I am an inventor. There's something like a pride there. He's still nervous about saying it. I am an inventor. But that's part of his personality, and that's good to have this expression as well. And he has fun all the time. Well-being is what we see. Key that we use at the beginning of our work with these 12 teachers, and we still use it every day. And the beautiful thing about that key, because I've seen many of you nodding when I said some of the elements, is that you don't need a high IQ to do that. It's about intuitive intelligence. And every person in the world is capable to develop that. Now, Jaap, we think at this moment, has a lot of potential. I can't go further in that, but you see, I have squeezed in between this category and that one, a new one, which was already in the others but not well situated, the process through which you get the effects. And there we have said, if you go to the process, it can be a very complicated thing to do in terms of the number of things that you can find out. You did it. We did it for Jaap. But if you want to use it for quality purposes, you need, as a framework, you need to be more concise. And that's where we learned one thing. Whatever the educational context you are working in, if you have well-being and if you have involvement, these two categories, it's all right, this is the quality. And all the rest comes behind that. That's the first element. If you have to choose, what can I use if I have only 2 words to grasp the quality in any situation in education? It's well-being and involvement. Of course, we need therefore to go deeper into what they are, but that will be very quickly, because you all have certainly a very clear idea, not just here, but also here, of what well-being and involvement are. Well-being, you are at ease, spontaneous, open and accessible, feeling safe, full of energy, connected, enjoying life. That's the quality we want to see in children. And indeed, it means that the basic needs are fulfilled in the interactions. And some people sometimes say, luckily not a lot, don't exaggerate with well-being. And then I think, why shouldn't we exaggerate? Can you exaggerate with well-being? I am thinking of children, persons that are shining. They're full being in their elements. Is there anything to say to them, don't be too much in your element? So people that are questioning that, for me, are a bit sick, have no connection enough with themselves. We have to go the whole road for well-being, because if well-being is there, it also means that the child is capable to interact in such a way with the environment, to equip himself, to interact in such a way with the environment that the basic are fulfilled. So we go ahead with this totally. And we know it's one of the key conditions for the development of mental health. If you are not feeling well, in many situations, it bounces back on yourself. And you begin to develop a negative identity. I'm no good. I'm a loser. And you can have that feeling even as a parent when you see that you lost control and don't know where you are. The first thing you will do is trying to see, what is my fault? What did I do wrong? And that, if that's part of your life as a growing child, is devastating. Involvement, that's the second one, we need it as well. Sometimes I see that we put a lot of energy in well-being, but for me, involvement is also part of energy, of well-being that should be articulated. I take it out of well-being because it deserves more attention. But it is a kind of well-being indeed. Let's watch these children here. We start with a baby. Okay, involvement, something else than well-being in a sense. You are engrossed, you are totally in the activity. And what happens here is the word concentration. Your mind is totally concentrated. And I remember that Montessori, very early in life already, has said concentration is the thing in the very young child that expresses the power of creation. That it is possible in such a child as we've seen in the start, that concentration is possible is something divine. Further, it means fascination, functioning at the very limits of your capabilities. We come back to that later as well. In fact, it's a precious state in which your brains have a high peak level of energy. And that's important. It goes beyond fun and entertainment. Because a few politicians in Flanders, but we find them everywhere, would say that we don't like experiential education because it's too much fun. No. Even too much fun. I don't think too much fun can be too much. But anyway, what I think is that they don't understand the concept of involvement and the beauty of it. Because we need involvement if we want deep-level learning. And that's a statement that is very clear. We can have proof of that. Take involvement away and you have superficial development. Okay, we are supported by Csikszentmihalyi. He has this beautiful concept of the state of flow. The state in which I can get, in which I feel a lot of energy while I'm doing something. Like me today, at this particular moment, I'm in the state of flow. Thanks to you, I am in the state of flow. I'm not always in the state of flow when I speak. We need to have a kind of connection. You make me better by the way you are looking. You're interested in the fact that we feel, oh yes, we are on the same line. Further, we see that from Csikszentmihalyi, this state only occurs if the challenge you have is big enough and not too big. But if it's too easy, and many children face that, too easy context, you never get into that particular state. And Vygotsky, proximal area of development, is the zone of development is certainly matching what we are meaning when people are at a very high level of involvement. I can go further and find Gladwell. It's a very interesting person as well. He has followed the Beatles and analyzed their lives, and he was astonished by the fact that the Beatles, between 1960 and 1964, went back and forth from Liverpool to Hamburg. 1,000 times they had a performance there, and he counted that up, and that's how he created the 10,000-hour rule. Which means, for excellence, in whatever domain, one needs 10,000 hours of hard work combined with talent, meaning 20 hours during 10 years. 20 hours a week during 10 years. Well, that's interesting, because I think if we could design something, to start, I would say to UNICEF, the human society all over the globe sign a contract with every child that is born at birth, saying that we, the humankind, with stressing kind, will make sure, guarantee, that you will have had your 10,000th hour of energy and passion when up to the age of 18. We provide that. And in a later stage, they will probably fit in a chip so that, like in a supermarket, they can just see, counter has this child already on its counter for this. To speak to your imagination and say, if you are a teacher and active with children, every second you see them totally involved, you must remember the counter is going now. And then, well, we can say Gladwell spoke of hard work, and some people are very interested because it's hard work, it's not fun. But we have to agree that when he talked about the Beatles, the hard work was not doing things that you don't want to do because another person wants you to do that, and he will threaten you with something if you don't reach it. No, it was passion. It was passion, not just Bill Gates, the Beatles, and many others. So, reflecting on the process where we are now after this first part is in a few statements. Well-being and involvement aren't child characteristics. That's a very crucial thing. It doesn't mean that I can say for Jaap, well-being and involvement, that's him. No. It's situation bound. You can from him say he has a strong exploratory drive. That's from him. But the situation may be such that he will not get involved or have high levels of well-being. That is interesting. If you have low levels of involvement and well-being, you cannot say that this is forever, that is structured. No. It's very dependent on situation. So I can make a change to that. Further, it provides immediate feedback about the quality. I can reflect on what I'm doing. A teacher in kindergarten, for example, can look around and say, in the construction area, I see that it's dropping. So then I know to address that, observe a bit more, and maybe change the materials I've done. It's nice to have direct feedback. And not only at the end of the year or the month when you are testing the children. You see it already here coming. What will happen there with your test, because you've seen there is no interest whatsoever. And very important, it stands above any approach. So you can say, we do Montessori, as I said, or Freinet, or we do experiential education, or we do new traditional kind of education. All of them are under the criteria of well-being and involvement. If you are Montessori and you don't reach high levels of well-being and involvement, you are not a good Montessori. If you are experiential, just the same. And that makes it very easy for policymakers. If I want to know the quality of the settings, I will not force them to do traditional or whatever, but I will force them to make sure that all children get the highest levels of well-being and involvement. And they have to choose which method will be the best in the implementation to get there. And finally, it's embracing the quality from 0 to 18, even beyond that. We use it even for homes of elderly, where we use well-being and involvement as a criteria for quality. So this is what we had when we started with the process. But we go now to the other part, which is, we go back, in fact, to the outcome. Deep level learning is what we want. And in general, I would say emotional health and self-esteem is number one. Second one is exploratory drive of a person, which we need to keep. We notice that a lot of youngsters coming also in higher education, more than we expected and that we like, miss the sense of wonder, are not interested in the world. They want you to say exactly what they have to learn to pass the exams. But content as such is not what they really are interested in. I know why they have gone to that point. The child that we have seen at the start, the drive seems to bear. We have to awaken it again. Then we have the competencies and life skills, and that's what I will go deeper into in a minute. And the basic attitude is the first one we need, because that's the ethical part. Even I can have as a competence social competence, but that doesn't guarantee that I will use that to help others or to support others. So I need an ethical dimension below. Some people are highly socially competent. That's why they are okay. So you can use your social competence to ruin other people's, because you know exactly how to hurt them, and you connect with others, and before you know, you are dead in a sense, psychologically within the group. So that's why we need the basic attitude of linkedness. So we have studied a lot about the developmental domains, because that's something else than well-being and involvement. But while you were looking at Jaap, you have seen how that works, because we said, well, he's very good in this thing, he's very good in that thing. We have categorized them in 10 developmental domains, and in fact, they cover all the dimensions of any curriculum in the world. Sometimes they will call them differently. They would make other connections or groups from them, but that's not so important. The point is that we very easily can agree upon this one, but we are not ready then. There is something that we need to say. Underlying the developmental process that underlie all these categories and things that we want, these objectives that we have, differ a lot. And that's why you get several conflicting opinions about how to create the learning environment, how to reach these goals. And to come to that point, I can make it more tangible by using an item in a test that is used in Flanders, has been used in Flanders, to check if the objectives that we have to reach from the government have been reached. And that's where they gave to children of 11, 12 years a test which explores that for the area of social science. And they got this photograph, and the question they had to answer was, in which time period would you place this city view? That's the question. When we go to the answers, we see that they had indeed the 4 historical periods that they have learned about during the 6 years, and this is the result. We are very disappointed about this result, because this means that 36% of the children think that the city view can be watched and seen in the ancient times or in the Middle Ages. So probably they have seen some horses and then thought, oh, horses, that's knights and castles. So that's the Middle Ages, obviously, isn't it? So this is very fascinating to see that. So the question I have for you is, how can we explain this disappointing result? And I have to say, the right answer will not be that these children were sick when the lesson about the horse tram was given, because the test was meant to measure something beyond that. I wasn't there, so I don't fill in this one. No. That would be too easy. What can explain this disappointing result? And I really want to stop here and talk with you about that. What are the clues? Is there anyone that want to start with one suggestion? And we will certainly find several of them quickly together. Who says, I have a hunch? I think... Yes, please. So you mean that in general, in the lessons of history, where all these things are brought, children were not really paying attention, so the involvement was very low? Yeah, certainly. That could be a very good reason why they didn't pick up important things. Absolutely, I take that as Yes, that's right. Because they seem to have learned isolated things, but they don't see the full elements. Now, the next thing is, can we go deeper into that? Why didn't we reach the point where they would see the connection, apart from the fact that they were not interested during the lessons? What is the thing how could we make them see the connections? So they have one part, they have another part, they have another part. Should we then say, I will tell you about the connections between these things, so this is the overall conclusion that you can take home? And when we have the test, you will use that to find out and analyze. Would that be the direction to go? Because you're right, they didn't see the connections. Yes. You're right. And what should they be instead of that? Passive receivers.
They should actively explore.
And how can we reach that?
Give them tasks that would make them question, make them be involved.
Yes. And what kind of tasks then? Is there anyone?
Open tasks, which have to activate their thinking.
All right. An open task means reality. As much as possible, real things from the Middle Ages, from the ancient times, so that they can imagine these times and tell us it's not possible to have a tram in 1500 then or 900 after DC with the number 96 on it, or a kind of advertisement for cacao in the Roman time. We don't think that is possible. And if it were a Japanese person, he would just go around the question and say, the Romans had no cameras. Which is very wise, but doesn't guarantee that this child understands Middle Ages and Roman times. This is so beautiful and clear. If education is not feeding the imagination, they don't connect. They don't connect. It's the confrontation with complex realities that help them to connect and to see, oh, I put this together. I get a feel of what it is in the Middle Ages and how different it becomes. Okay, good. So we can make easily the distinction between superficial learning, that is learning that doesn't change your sense of reality and the way you interact with that. You stay the same because you have learned these categories and these riddles. Deep level learning makes that your schemes are changed, so it allows you to grasp more complex things and to understand these. And with even more development, deep level, you can grasp even more element and stay on a... The metaphor I want to use for something so difficult as this here is the metaphor of a computer. A child is a computer. It's not politically correct to say that, but a child is a computer. Just imagine, it's a computer. What do we do with it? Well, we put a lot of files in it. 1,000 files, 2,000 files, 3,000 files. Okay. But if these files do not change the program, if it doesn't upgrade the program, the software that's in it, you've done nothing. And that is what happens when policymakers, we know where it started, so it's no problem. The policymakers want to put a lot on knowledge. Knowledge is nothing if you can't connect it with the real life. And it's a paradigm shift that we have in mind. And paradigms define what you are capable of. So with a more developed paradigm, you see more, you understand more, you see the processes. And I use this here as a metaphor again. You see 3 types of typing machines. And the first one and this one are from the same paradigm because they are mechanic. But the second one is an electric one, so that's not mechanic. And the third one is an electronic one, because there are chips in it, and that's a jump, a huge jump. So if you change the program in the child, you see what kind of power your mind is developing. So this is something that we can take with us. And finally, a good advocacy for involvement is by saying that it is the foundation for imagination and creativity. The children you have seen in the starting clip for this one, starting with the baby and the others with mathematics, shows that while they are doing that, a lot is happening on their mind. That's my 3-stage rocket. Stage 1 is your exploratory drive, leading you to very intense experiences. You've seen them. That's involvement. But when the experience is gone, it's not totally gone. It sticks there in your mind. Your brains have taken them in to make changes in the connections here. And that's where you have imagination. You can remember or relive again these things that were there. And that's the power of your cognition. You can go back to them, use them. And in that way, at the mental level, that's what Piaget described as representation. And I am bold enough to fit in a new syndrome. It's my invention, the LOI syndrome. And LOI stands for lack of imagination syndrome. It's widespread and very dangerous if policymakers have that syndrome. Because it means that they decide to take a measure, but do not check mentally, sitting together with the other. Okay, we are for this? Yes, we are for this. But let's check first. On hold. It will happen there. And then we are on the ground where the things will happen there with the teacher. And children, oh, no. We have to review this. That is what we need. Not a quick idea of I have this and we have the solution. But the process to that, you have to imagine it. And that demands a very developed understanding. And finally, we have creativity. Creativity is the capacity to combine and make new combinations of the things that you have stored in you, to make totally new inventions or whatever, and solutions and expressions. Because you are able to profit from what you have stored. Not all people that have stored a lot are capable to identify fluency. We'll skip this one because I think, no, it's too nice. Let's go for it. It's too nice. Okay. So we will now use these spectacles because we have described each of the domains with a 5-point scale. A very simple 5-point scale in which you can try to observe children and say in what level are they. So you will see here children, and it's about 1 minute, not more. It's your question that you have to answer is which domain, I've the question here in fact, which domain is extremely well illustrated in this clip and by which child? That's the question. The developmental domains, you get them aside and they will keep there, so you don't have to learn them by heart. Okay, here we go. Okay. Good. So which domain has been well illustrated? And you can take numbers, that makes it easy. And I can say there are more than one that can fit this question. Who would start with the first one? The attitude of linkedness, yes. Especially at the moment where he is approaching the others and distributing the material, absolutely. And we can say that at that moment, or did you have another explanation for it?
I have an explanation that the last child who was following, he just followed the others. So it's kind of
his linkedness. Oh, you were referring to that one. Absolutely. The child that went for it, we'll call all over the world. They know him. It's the white guy. Okay, so that there's no confusion. The white guy. Another example. Another element that came apart from the basic attitude. Yes. Oh, which three? The number 3, yes. Expression and art.
Expressive art and music, and also 6, social competitions.
Social competence, yes, and indeed using and playing music is the third one. I agree. Is there another one that we can take with us? We have social competence. Yes.
I find there the self-organization, because the kid wanted to do something, so the kid
let's look at that.
Did it. So self-organization.
Yes, let's look at that. And the way to do that is just going to the description of a level 5 and check if it fits him. Does it fit? He's able to manage himself or herself well. He knows what he wants, yes, and set a goal. I want a kazoo. Can engage into action without delay? No, he stood up straight away to achieve a good result, and he had that result. He doesn't give up at the first obstacle. No, he went over the bed to get it. So he probably knew the definition, so that's why he said, I will go over an obstacle. And here is, he can step back and work strategically. 2 times he shows something, it only takes 2 seconds each time. The first time when he started and the second time when he came back. Who has spotted these 2 seconds? Twice. But the first one. What did you see that shows that, this is clever. This is well done, you know. He wanted something, he did it, and he did that. A detail, but not a detail, showing a lot of competence there. Is there anyone who has a clue? He takes the dummy out, meaning he's starting here and he knows, he anticipates. Very good thinking. He anticipates. So we know then that I need to have a free hand to hold it. So I take it there and I make sure I'm there and I do that. And the second time was when he came back and starting to blow, when he passed the camera, I had 6 meters to go. Still, I was already part of the music band. Because that was his goal. So it's clear that we have here a child that is the opposite of helplessness. Oh, I'm here. I don't have a kazoo. No. I'm here. Oh, I'd like to join them, but I know there's a kazoo there somewhere. And I stand up and I go and get it and come back. There's another child that I admire even more, and that's the first one who started it off, because this one was the white guy, was the self-organized person. But the entrepreneur was the one that set it off. Can you imagine a child at less than 3 years of age? It's not an adult that said, do the trick again with the kazoos because they are filming. They could use that in Prague when they have a conference there. No. Nobody told him that. He felt, and that's the connection also, feeling connected and linked. He felt that it would be nice. He imagined that it would be nice to have these kazoos and distribute them in a friendly way. You too, he said 3 times. And he created blowing together on the kazoo, which is a very nice way for bonding. Singing together is that as well. So I use this to make sure that our approach is absolutely different from the actual metaphor when people want to measure development. It's holistic in nature, meaning that you are not ticking a series of boxes and count it up at the end. No, you have to grasp the essence. As you did, you observe and try to see with the category that you have what helps me to find out where this child stands when we have the road to high competence. It's observable in many situations, not only this. You will check again on the playground or in other contexts, and it covers all ages, because what we say is that for his age, he's matching this. So instead of making a category or a scale for every age level, it's you that adapt them to the age. Meaning that we see you not as technicians who are ticking boxes, who are finding little elements together. We trust on your competence to make a judgment, and that's mastery. That's mastery. And you have that mastery in you. You need some tools to develop that further, but it's there. You showed it in many of your responses already today. So it covers all ages, and it's a basis for observation of talents, because that's what we did with Jaap in the beginning and again with this here. Okay, it means also this approach that we will have to measure outcome in a different way than before. Not trying to find out where is the knowledge, but putting them in situations where they have to show and display how well they grasp a certain area. So for science and technology, we use this kind of photographs. And we ask, why is it built like that? And we see that here, only 27% of teachers or adults have seen that this is built in such a way that the pathway that you have in wood would not shift from there to there, but is still able to go like that because the tide is coming up and going down. Only 27% understand that. And the same is for this year. We ask why this, and here we see that only 18% see that. And indeed, one of the bad questions would be that the paint was finished. They had to get another bucket of paint in the shop. You know that it's not that, but that it's the friction that made. And it even means that we know how high the water ever has been. This is an eye for the technical aspect. We want also an eye for the social aspect and dimension. We want an eye for everything that deals with beauty. With everything that deals with beauty. I think here something wrong. I think I have the wrong ears for this design. It's okay like that? Yeah, I only wanted a bit of attention, you see. Okay, good. So this illustrates very well. I'm not talking just like that. I'm showing it, what the consequences are when you try to implement it in practice. Reflecting on the output, we can say a diploma is no guarantee for competence. Not at all. Because the education system is not trying to do what I describe. In any profession, knowledge without imagination is nothing. You call all the professions, it's true what we say. In any lesson, look beyond the specific curricular objectives. Do that. You are doing something with the children, it's about history, but realize that this has to have a contribution to how they understand the historical phases. Have that in mind. And that you don't go deeper and deeper into one detail that will not reveal anything of the whole thing that's there. But be concrete and bring the reality in. Develop new ways to assess, that's what we did, and recognize talents thanks to this way of looking at children, so this holistic nature. And maybe some of you would say, finally, he will talk about the learning environment and how we can reach all these things. Well, yes, I will. First of all, so it's obvious that we are now here at the approach of the context in our framework that we introduced at the start. And in fact, these are the levers you have to improve the quality when you are creating this learning environment. I will go very quickly over them and then focus on three of them. The first one, positive climate. I was astonished to see that research about effective schools found there is one factor that comes up again and again. If the school and class climate is not okay, you will not be an effective school. I was happy to see that. It was before Corona that they already understood that well-being is not unimportant. Further, room for initiative, action. Action means how much time, how much dead time is there, time that children have to wait, or they know the answer already but cannot communicate. How much is that? We lose time. We lose a lot of time there. Cooperative learning, bringing children together from different levels. And certainly if language development is important, like Julia's experience with children from, what is the region? Help me. Als je met uw kinderen dat die in 1 jaar ze konden doen, van welke streek kwamen die? Wat? Nee, die andere, die... een deel van Turkije is dat, maar ja, ben ze kwijt. Ja, doesn't matter. Anyway, that it was possible in 5-year-olds to in 4 to 5 months. It's true that most of the children were Dutch-speaking children, but they could then learn that language in a very short time because of this interaction. Expression. I'll come back to that in a minute. Closeness to the real thing. I've said already something of that, but come back in that. And geared to the level of development. Meaning if it's too difficult or too easy, you will never get where you want to go. So many things are sometimes too easy. I think more than we realize in the educational system. And others are too difficult. Let's go. Closeness to the real thing. I will be very brief about that. This is what we mean. Complex realities. Use that as a metaphor. How complex is the reality that you offer? And in Flemish we would say, let's make the soup thicker. You know, you have some soups where you can see right through them. But that's not the idea that we have. You have to feel the differences in how it bites. Further, in a project where we brought classes together, they had to build the village. And that village had to be using a lot of technological applications. And this is what came out of that. You see how many things they had to challenge to get somewhere with that. Okay. Then we go further. Even reading. I've learned a lot about history just by reading books where some authors are capable of recreating all these times in concrete dialogues and people and what they eat and what they do. But in general, I would say the internet is such a rich source. Look at the nature documentaries. A school can never beat that. Never. And you don't need to see thousands of them. 3 of them would suffice for you to stand back and say, this is nature. Really. I can't say more. This is nature. It happens to me even every day again when I look at these. Let's go then to room for initiative. This is a crucial point, and it's so difficult about talking about room for initiative. How much initiative do you give to children? Well, in general, we would say not too much and not too little. But I go to the open framework developed by HighScope as an idea. The open framework says that you have a high level of initiative of the adult and a high level of initiative of the children, and they combine. Meaning, in fact, that you don't know in that interaction who is programming who, because it happens there. So the adult is inspired by something that happens there, and the adult can then say things, do things, and feel free to go ahead because the other has understood. Oh, I could bring this in. That would be interesting. Don't refrain from that and say, no, they have to have a high level of initiative, the children. No. You are part of the game, and the children bring something in again. So ask yourself after a school visit, how much things did I see that were created because of the synergy between the adult and the children? Because of the time, I will skip. I was planning already to skip this one, and I need to go to the last one, but yeah, I need to say something about expression, absolutely. Because expression, that's where language is, isn't it? So I need to stand still here. Expression is something that we see when a child or a person has a deep and strong experience. It means that after that experience, the person cannot go further to the next experience. No. It's like your soul is calling you back. So I'm starting to go to my next experience, and my soul is taking me here and taking me back and saying, you are not ready with it. No, that I feel that I'm not ready with it. I need to do something with it. And that something is always the same. It's expression. You come back from a travel, you had seen something wonderful, a movie, whatever thing. But you then want to talk about that. Some will write about it. Children will draw about it. Here, the amethyst. Here is the amethyst. This child has gone to a kermis, and you see he has written. We went to the caterpillar, everyone was screaming of joy, we made 3 rounds, etc. So this is what he did, and even without the wording, you can tell it from his drawing. So this is what we need if we want to develop language, is to use these strong experiences to start with. We need to give them the opportunity for that. And then we have to invite them and give them the opportunity to express that. And that means that while they express it, while I'm expressing, I am sensing the meaning of what I planned to say in the most radical and the most intense and the most precise way, using wordings. I will now, don't get nosy because I will go quickly through a few of them, but I want to come to 2 essential points. The first one is that we can measure involvement in a cost-effective way. What we do is go in several classes during 1 or 2 sessions, hours, and collect this information. 10 children on a row are observed 2 minutes and given a score for involvement or well-being. We focus on involvement here. Here you see 21 classes with a high difference between 2.8 for the lowest mean score for involvement and 3.5 almost for the highest. You can see that we have done something with that, because we can now measure with these elements, with this data, we can say something about the learning efficiency. So if you are a policymaker or a minister of education here, you have to listen to this point, because you will like it. We can measure the learning efficiency of schools and centers just by measuring the levels of involvement of children. And from that we know what elements are to be dealt with. You see that with 2.8 you have an efficiency of 56%. Well, I guarantee you that this explains the lower rates we get on many tests also internationally. While you need at least, that's our idea, 3.5, so meaning about 70% learning efficiency to see something remain from your efforts. So that's first. The second one is that we need to follow up children in such a way that they can really be followed by the teacher who is observing them during weeks. 3 weeks is enough to just find out where the children are in terms of well-being and involvement, and then focus on the ones that are in the green, in the orange or red color. And that's how we then can make a graph. You can see how Sam at the beginning was a high score, then went down in the 3rd year of primary school because he didn't get the sense of initiative he should need. And finally, we see a deterioration because the teacher says Sam is arrogant. So we can predict what will happen in 8 years further. We can predict dropout in a sense, because this is the first sign that it's not going well. To finish, I want to go to in this conclusion, and also this one will be found. I feel that the educational system is wanting to go back to the old didactics. It's in many countries the case. I see it in Flanders, I see it in the Netherlands, etc. Ticking boxes is what now is enforced to teachers. all on language and maths, but not necessarily in the right way, as I said. Back to whole class teaching is what they want. Not the whole child is seen, but only the bits that account for the testings. And an inefficient organization and management is obvious in many cases, which explain the decay in measured school results. The teacher reduced to an executor of guidelines. And that's why we don't find new teachers anymore, because they have seen it, they have experienced it, and they don't. Well, we have a lack of teachers in Flanders. The better view is this one, where we have this here. Powerful learning environment, a deeper look on each child, development as a goal, children with co-ownership, covering all domains and towards new structures in the schools. The teacher thriving and fully engaged, enjoying the satisfaction of watching children flourish. That's what we want. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We unfortunately have only 4 minutes for the questions. I think this was a unique experience after which we are not able to absorb anything else. But nevertheless, I will at least allow you one question or comment. This is a really precious opportunity. Seize the opportunity. Any of you, it can be even a question or comment from the chat. I think we are all taken aback. Okay. Bara.
I think that the last 2 slides really highlighted the problems that we are challenging now in the Czech system. I represent the pre-primary education, and the 2 trees just describe our current problems that we face. So thank you very much. I think we have to use this for the further discussion, because this is really very current. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Děkuju moc. A ještě máme kolik času?
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know how much time we yet have. Yes, we can cope with one question or comment.
Jsem učitelka z praxe, učím přesně tak se snažím, jak tady říkal pan profesor, že teda se snažím učit činnostně, prožitkem, zkušeností, ale to, co nám teďko připravuje ministerstvo, 30 žáků ve třídě, tam ať budu čím víc individualizovat, stejně toho nemohu docílit, protože to opravdu není možné a ať já chci učit tak, jak tady nám ukázal pan profesor, nebo já se o to snažím, tak bohužel ten prožitek nemohu v rámci tohoto počtu dětí poskytnout všem dětem ve výuce tak, jak bych chtěla. Takže já mu za tohleto moc děkuju a vidím, že to je problém napříč prostě vzdělávacíma systémama v celém světě. Děkuji moc krát ještě jednou.
Chcete nějak reagovat? Určitě, budeme rádi.
Can I react on that?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I understand. I've missed the first part, but I understand. Yeah. To summarize, I understand that you say the conditions in which we have to work as a teacher with so many children make it very difficult to reach this. Okay? There are 2 things to say. First, I think we will I see some schools changing the way they are working, and that's the new development in Flanders and in other countries, where the children have more self-initiative. So you organize it in a way that there is a more flexible approach and a high level of initiative of children. We have seen that, and the group of teachers are together responsible for a large group of children. 3 classes are seen as one class. Mm-hmm. But in Corona, when one teacher fell out, because of Corona, in many schools the second fell out as well, and the third one as well. In these schools we saw, there are not many of these schools, in these schools we saw that the school could go on without one teacher falling away, because the structure, the initiative was shared by adults and children. Mm-hmm. You can't do that overnight. It will need a transformation. But the second point is, it's obvious, and I'm happy with your remark, it's obvious that the educational system worldwide is scandalously underfinanced. Underfinanced. You have to do things that are impossible. While I like to see more and more and more people from economic background who come in and see and look and let them measure what the cost is for society and for the economy if you don't develop the potential of every child. And that's the fight we have before us for the next century, the next decade. We have to make that sure because everyone has the advantage to do that. We have to do that. More investment in education, but not like we throw with money, but following up. How is involvement growing? Because that's the test. And we test also gradually the return in many ways. Less people that got sick because of their mental health. That is a huge benefit for society in finance, but benefit in people in happiness.
Thank you very much for the very last question and your words. It was very, very motivating because that's what we need. Situation is not simple, not easy. We have to grasp it somehow, involve the kids, increase the responsibility of all the adults and children on right positions. This is the way forward.